All right, joining us now. She is entering her 29th year as a head coach. She has been to 10 NCAA tournaments, of course, has led her alma mater, Villanova, to three Big East championships, three NCAA tournament appearances, and I believe and it's entering her, just her ninth season there. I speak of our good friend Bridget Orchard, who's been on this show quite a bit. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
29th year. I was thinking you were just 29 years old. So I mean,
Me
that's
too. Me too.
you look like you're 29, so you
Thank
fooled
you.
me. But just when I say that, what does that mean to you? I mean, you're almost that's a long time with a lot of success there. Is it has it blown by? How would you describe it?
It definitely has gone by super fast. Like every year. That's why I mean I love what I do. So I'm just kind of grateful and I feel blessed and lucky to be able to do this every year. So for 29 years, it does I didn't really even realize that until you just said it. Yeah, it doesn't feel like that long. And it's great with coaching because every year is a new year, new group of players. So it goes by fast. But it's awesome. It's so much fun.
How are you different today as a head coach than you were when you started in the industry?
Well, so much have changed, even from like last year to the year before that. Definitely from the beginning. It was fun. I'm still really tight with my players. So I was fortunate enough to only be a head coach, as you know. So I was head coaching right when I got out at like 22 years old at Cabrini College. And I'm still good friends with all my players that were on that team. And again, we were like the same age. So it was way different when I started because we were able to have a lot more fun. Kind of again being the same age. Now that I'm getting older, I hire younger assistants so they know what's going on. But like now I feel just out of touch when they talk about like we'll talk about like music or songs, movies, and I have no idea what they're talking about. And same thing, I'll bring up a movie and they've never heard of it. They're like, we weren't born then. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like now I know I'm getting old. So I think that's the difference where I used to be cool, hip, and in touch with what's going on, and now I have no idea what's going on.
Well, I feel better now because I'm the same way. I'm around these players a lot, and they're talking about it like I have no idea what you're talking about
No
compared to
idea.
where.
Snapchat and TikTok. And I'm like, oh, I need to know what I don't know what that is. So I'm getting up with it a little bit because I have my own children, but it's gonna be a sad day when they grow up too, because then I'll really want to know what's going on.
What's the key to evolving and adapting to the success that you've had? You've adapted to the success of today's game and the how evolve it is as the sport is. You know, so many changes with the transfer portal and NIL
Yes.
now in the picture and all that. Yet you've been able to adapt. How?
I just think it's enjoying the process, having fun with it, trying to stay connected to your players. We're really, people kind of ask, like, what's your philosophy? Now that we're recruiting our 27s and you're talking to these kids. And I think our biggest thing, just kind of, it's kind of trying to stay on their level. Like I said, I kind of want to understand them, get to know them as people. You hear that a lot. It sounds cliche, but I think that's what works for us to kind of get in. And every team is different. Every year is different. This year is different than last year and the year before. And like you said, my first year. So it's just trying to understand kind of what first thing, like what makes them tick, how you can get the best out of them, on the field, off the field. I think most importantly nowadays is more off the field stuff. I feel like, when I first started coaching, off the field stuff wasn't as tricky. Nowadays with social media, pressure and anxiety and stress is through the roof. Where back in the day, nobody knew how good you did or how bad you did, and you just kind of played and it was fun. And I think now it's more stressful. Honestly, I think it's tougher on them. So just trying to understand, what they're up against and what they're doing because I didn't play in that era, so I didn't understand it, and so me kind of be a little more understanding with them. And each year being like you said, adapting, kind of take it comes and you got highs and lows and understanding there's good things that are changing and bad things that are changing and trying to kind of adapt to the times.
You're an alum at Villanova. How has the school changed different today than it was when you were a student athlete?
Yeah, it's a lot different. It's growing. Like I said, we've been given, tours of campus and I walk around. I think my assistants are sick of hearing me say, oh, I live there. I live there. That's where I went. That's where my field was. So there's so many changes just growing. It's in a great way. We just acquired Cabrini College, which is where I started my coaching career at. So that's kind of cool that, we acquired them. So we're going to grow a little bit there. That'll open next year. We acquired Rosemont, which is right down the street from us as well. So we're growing not only obviously in admissions is getting more students here, but also just land and just building more things. And on campus, they're building a brand new library that's opening up in 2027. We have a brand new engineering building. So things are growing, evolving, and it's just gorgeous campus. So it's not a lot the same, but so many other changes are also kind of intertwinkled in there. We have a Wawa on campus. We just opened up this year. So that's the big highlight right now, that we have Wawa.
Wow, that's pretty. That's a the landmark there moment there for you there. How do you feel you would have handled all this as a student athlete in today's kind of changing culture there at Villanova there and with all the new facilities and everything?
Yeah, no, I always say it's so much harder, I think, on these, on these young athletes and student athletes nowadays is just a lot more. I mean, and there's a lot more money into it too. So the good and the bad, like, yeah, I would have loved to have some of the perks that they have that we didn't have. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of stress, a lot of pressure and expectations, and that's what comes with it. We try to explain that to them, And again, same thing even with winning. It's like, yeah, it's great you won, but now there's an expectation, and a standard you need to live up to. And I think that's stressful and hard. And I think that playing nowadays, there's a lot of really positive things that people don't touch upon. But again, there's also a lot of the, stress that back when we played, we didn't have. So I liked it better when I played. The ball didn't fly quite as far. There were 1-0 games. I was a bunter slapper. So the game has definitely evolved so much from when I played to now. I don't think I would be successful in today's game.
That's funny. How do you describe the facilities now? You're hosted the Big East tournament recently. How would you describe it now?
Yeah, I mean it's evolving, it's getting better. We're still hoping for phase 2. So our field itself is awesome. We have great, our field surface is dirt, and then we got turf in the outfield, wall padding, put a lot of our alumni's pictures on the wall padding out there. So it has great visual. We have the big V in the outfield. So I think it looks great. We have a new video board. I guess it's about 2 or 3 years old, but my coach that I played for, Coach Marie DiBernardi, the scoreboard is named after her. She was just at our games yesterday. So it's kind of cool to see her come to the field and be part of the program as it grows and it gets bigger and better. I would love to see more seating. We're getting more fans. So I think, like I said, the Big East tournament, we had to bring in bleachers. We brought in lights. So if we can kind of get some of that stuff to stay consistent and try to build a field house out there, nice indoor would be awesome to have. I have a lot of wants and wishes on my list to keep growing and evolving, and I'll continue to keep asking for them. We're trying to reach out to, this will be our 50 years of seasons of softball at Villanova this year. So we're excited about that. We're going to hopefully play off that a little bit more and kind of get some more donations and donors because we need more money to kind of continue what we're doing in this day and age of athletics, which I think kind of goes with what you were saying before. The things that have changed is we need more support, we need more help, and we need more outside people kind of helping push this program further.
What did you learn from hosting the Big East tournament that you'll keep in your back mind the next time? I know you talked about, you still got to do phase 2. There's still a lot of work to do from a facility standpoint, but just from a hosting standpoint, being able to host for the first time, what did you learn from that experience that you'll think about as a host the next time you get to host?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I mean personally, like for our team hosting, we didn't perform well, we didn't play well. So I think we would not worry so much about hosting and worry about playing. Just from an own personal coaching lesson for myself. It was really stressful trying to figure out, what we're gonna do, where we're gonna be, how we're gonna figure it out, how's our facility gonna look, we're gonna fit everybody. And me just trusting my people more. That are kind of putting it on. And I'm actually glad we're not hosting this year. And you had me on a lot. I always couldn't wait to host, loved hosting. When I was at Fordham, was the best thing in the world to host. Here, I don't know if it's because of our performance, but I'm happy not to be hosting this year. So I think we learned a lot coming in. There was a lot went into it, to host, a championship, and it's televised. You want it to be first class, and you want the fans to have a great experience. You want to have enough seating. I was stressed about seating, bathrooms, food. There's things that are outside just for the fans that I was hoping that, and I think it went really well. I do think it went well, but I think we could do a lot better.
Sounds like you learned a lot, actually. Like you really,
Absolutely.
a lot more than you even thought going into it.
100%. Yes, yes. And just the opportunities. I'm like, wow, this is such a huge opportunity. That's why I even hurt worse losing because just the opportunities, like, wow, we get to play under the lights at home with our fans and our community. And I feel like we kind of let them down a little bit. And I think this is like, hey, this is gonna be a great chance to play. And I think we got hyped up a little too much. I know myself as a coach was like, this is gonna be the coolest thing ever to get to do this. And we just didn't perform well.
Big East tournament will be in Rosemont this upcoming year there. Uh, Give us an outlook for this year's team then. I mean, you mentioned you weren't happy how you performed in the Big East tournament, being eliminated there, but what's the kind of the outlook this year with some of the returners and then the new faces?
I think it's awesome. Obviously, you never want to lose, but when you do lose, you have that renewed. Doing as much as I have, the year coming off of a loss is exciting and better because they're working their butts off this fall. They don't want to feel what they felt last year. You never want your team to experience that, but sometimes they have to. And I think they kind of embraced it. They owned up to it. They know, hey, we can perform better. We're better than this. We can win. And I think that's the toughest thing is when you win to continue to win. and we went back to back, and then we lost, and then we came back. So I think hopefully this year, high expectations. I think the girls are ready. They're ready to get working. They're ready to get after it, and they want to be back in the NCAA tournament. So I think the hunger is there.
Who are some players that you're looking forward to seeing how they have grown in the fall?
Definitely. Obviously, we'll start with the top with our seniors. We have Kat Gallant returning as our pitcher. Our ace on the mound, our number one, and she graduated last year in 3 years, and now she's getting her master's this year. So obviously, it's still just her fourth season, but she's high, off the charts academically, getting her MBA. So she's just doing so well on and off the field. Super successful, great teammate, great captain, working really hard. She's a pitcher only, so she, obviously can't help us on offense. So she's doing everything she can to kind of help the team come together and score her some runs. I think I'm excited about her leadership this year. Kind of being the top dog coming in. She kind of played behind a lot of people up till her senior year, and now she'll be, our number one. The pitching staff with Lexi Coburn's going to be a big deal too. She's coming in as a sophomore, had a great freshman year, and now as a sophomore, I think it'll be awesome to see her kind of how she uses that freshman year to advance, into her sophomore year. Miranda Runco, she hit the scene last year as well, being a pitcher and a hitter. So I feel like that's going to be a big deal as well. Six seniors this year, so I think it'll be cool to see what they can do.
Some new faces you're looking to contribute on this upcoming year's team.
Yeah, super excited. So we have 5 freshmen. They're all going to have like a huge impact on the program, on and off the field. In the fall so far, Jackie Cox, she's coming in from Wisconsin as a freshman. Again, super great kid, hard worker, outfielder. She's been leading off for us in the fall. Left-handed hitter, left-handed, right-handed, really athletic. Was a tennis state championship in high school. Obviously a great softball player as well. But she'll be kind of patrolling, taking over for Kelsey White in the outfield, which we know are big shoes to fill out there, as Kelsey graduated last year. So Jackie's been great. Carly Zick coming in as one of her teammates in travel ball. She pitches, hits, plays a little bit. So both of them are going to try to take over, for Kelsey. And then who's our other freshman? Maggie King is a pitcher that we acquired late. She came in right, in August. She's a pitcher. Awesome kid, been throwing great in the fall so far, has really been dominant out in the mound as a freshman. So I think she's going to be a huge, impact. We have her playing some of the outfield. We have her hitting, doing a little bit of everything. Then we have Aubrey and Katie, both are injured right now in the fall, are incoming freshmen. They'll be ready for the spring, but they haven't played in the fall yet. So we're waiting to see what we're going to get on. But the other 3 that are healthy and playing are doing a great job.
How do you feel about your pitching staff going in here? Do you feel you have a depth? Do you think it's going to be a variety? Do you think one or two will establish itself?
I think it's going to be depth. I mean, we have 7, which is more than I've ever had. Again, like Kat's going to lead the thing. Kat, Lexi, Miranda, Maggie King is holding her own out there. So we've been playing fall ball games. We'll play, double headers, and pitching is just great. They're able to come, and it's easy in the fall because you're throwing 3 innings, we're able to bring them in. But a lot of them are showing a lot of improvement from our returners are gotten better. And then obviously our incoming freshmen are doing great as well. So I'm excited about kind of the depth, and we'll be able to show different looks. I don't think anybody's going to go, full 7 or throw every game. I think we'll be able to throw, 2 or 3 pitchers. Like I said, the hitters are so great in our conference this year, and this national schedule that we play, we're going to have to, throw a few different pitchers, and I think they'll definitely be capable of that.
I want to talk about the Big East. I've talked to some other coaches in the league, and they've mentioned the fact that you've been a 3 seed there. You've been to a regional final. You certainly had UConn last year as a 3 seed, but I get a sense from talking to people in the league that they're pushing to be possibly a 2 seed, which could beat you in the mix for a top 32 seed that just got passed in for the upcoming season. Is that something you as coaches talk about in the league?
Oh yeah, I mean, our biggest thing, I've talked to Coach Valentino a lot over at UConn, and we want to get 2 bids. We'd love to be the Big East get another bid, and obviously we haven't lived up to that on both our sides. We both haven't had the same season at the same time. They dominated last year, we were dominant the year before, so we're obviously rooting for each other. Creighton's going to be right up there. Butler's up there. St. John's had a phenomenal year last year. They have probably the best pitching staff in our entire conference. They regular season champions last year. So there's so many teams that are in the mix. And my big thing has always been scheduling. I think, and they know that about me. I talk about it a lot. I think you need to schedule. I think you need to schedule up. I think you need to play these teams. And to put yourself in that position, you need to play better teams and you give yourself a chance. So I'm not saying you're going to go and win all those games, but your RPI is going to be there if you play up and play teams. And if you don't win, then you're just better for your conference. If you win, now you got yourself a chance at that large. And we had gotten in that large in the past, and it's because we had won early on some of those big games. And it's softball, so you may only beat them 1 out of 10 times, but that one time is going to be a big deal. And I'm sure you talked to Coach Valentino about them going down and playing Tennessee, and they're playing a 3-game series. And I'm like, that's the greatest thing ever for them. And they played great. And I didn't talk to her about it, but I'm pretty sure that that's really a kickstart getting into win that conference tournament because they're confident, and they went down there and they played them really tight, played them really well. When you come back and now you're facing, mid-major pitching, it's not as tough. And I think that that's a big key. And they can pick up one of those, a win, one or two there. Now you're a spot for an at-large. So they were probably, I don't think quite a bubble team last year, but they put themselves in a position to possibly have a shot at doing that if they don't win the conference. And that's kind of what we always want to put ourselves in the position to get that at large. And the only way you're going to put yourself in the position if you go play the Power 5 teams that have the high RPIs they're winning games.
How has the Big East changed since your arrival? I can't believe it's your 8th season already, Bill. I feel like yesterday we were just talking about you arriving there and how you wanted to change things at your alma mater. Then you were knocking on the door early on then you broke through. Now UConn has broken through after they were knocking at the door after winning regular season titles. I talked to Coach Wood, they're now trying to knock on the door, and they've seen what you've done and what UConn's done. You got St. John's. You mentioned what they did, winning the Big East regular season title. I'm not even talking about what Coach Christensen's building over at Providence, where they made a run to get into the Big East tournament last year. Just this, the evolution of the Big East since your arrival now. I mean, it's going to be it's a battle just to make the Big East tournament, especially now with the changes where it's going to be only the top 4 to get in now this upcoming year.
Absolutely. I mean, it's awesome. I think it's great for the conference. I think it's great for softball, and we're pushing each other. And the more like I said, we want to get multiple bids, and we're going to get them at these teams. Like you just mentioned, all those teams, like they're right in the mix, and we're beating each other. And it was hard last year. I think that was one of our struggles last year. Just to qualify to the Big East tournament, that was a grind. That was a struggle. That took a lot out of us. We were going into that last weekend having to win to get into the tournament. Now we were able to grab the 3 seed, but if we had lost that weekend, we would have been the outside looking in. So I think that was even a struggle for us, like not just automatically getting in, like, hey, you're getting in the tournament. Now that's not happening with the 4 teams. Last year was 6, and we were going down to the last weekend. So I think this year with 4 teams, that's really going to be a grind. It's really going to be hard. And I think that's going to just get us better. We always say iron sharpens iron. I think it works in our conference as well. Like we got to get up and get ready to play every single team in our conference. And I think that's the exciting part about it. And sounds like, hey, it's going to be tough because you got to get 4 teams, but I'm excited about the challenge. And I think all the other teams are excited about it too. And we're always rooting for each other when we're not playing each other.
What's one of the areas you want to see your team improve on from last year? It's it's a razor thin margin for error from Big East title, like you said, just to try to make the Big East. Or what is a couple areas you want to see your improve from this year from last year?
I mean, I think our discipline, I think our mental toughness. I mean, it's just the mental game, like you asked earlier about what's changed. And I think the mental game and the mental toughness and just being able to, easier said than done. I get it, but you know what? You got to move on to the next inning. Or if you have a strikeout or if you have an error, move on from it and learn from it and go. And they're sensitive, and if, we get beat, it takes them a while to get over it instead of just being, hey, move on and kind of forget about it. And just that confidence factor. We didn't have a lot of swagger last year. We were very hesitant. We didn't have a lot of swag. And I think that's something I want to see this year, them just come out a little bit more on fire, a little more confident, a little more ready to go. And I don't think it's, we're talented. We're very talented. I don't think it's talent at this point. I think it's more, mentally where they're at and how to, fight back. You got to be able to fight back, and you got to be able to take some punches and still get back up.
Have your players kind of adapted, when the success you've had, you're a target now. You're a target every week in the Big East. You get everybody's best efforts. Even in non-conference, you're in a marquee tournament. Like if you're in Boca, like you've been in the recently with FAU hosting, or you could be a tournament with Clemson's or whoever. It's no longer like, hey, you're sneaking up on teams in the tournament. People realize who you are because of the success you have. It's the ultimate compliment, right? You've had all this success. Now everybody knows who you are. Have the players adapted to that? Or is some of them sometimes, is that a bit of an adjustment?
I think it's an adjustment. I think that definitely they've adapted, and I think we talk about it a lot. I think they understand that, and we're like, hey, like you just said, like with our conference games, like we're getting everybody's best, and that's what we want. And that's what the players before us, they paved that way, said, hey, now, nobody's looking past us. Nobody's going to throw their number twos and threes. They're coming at us with their best, and that's going to get us better for what we want to be. We want to get to the NCAA tournament again. We want to get through a regional. I think the only way you're going to do that is if you get people's best and you can handle that. And again, it's the pressure, it's the pressure. And I think they're starting to understand that. Because it's a respect. Like we hope to see, if we don't see somebody's number one, we're like, wow, they didn't throw their number one at us. And then I think last year we did play at this way our season was going. Sometimes we weren't seeing number ones. We're like, hey, we got to get back up there. We got to prove that we want to face your number one and that we can play with anybody in the country.
When you schedule your non-conference schedule, I'm curious, from when you first got there to now, how has it changed from a scheduling? Are more schools kind of wary about it? You're like, yeah, we like to play it, but whereas maybe when you first got there, like, yeah, sure, come in, whatever. Now they're a little more hesitant because they're worried about like, we got to be careful here. We can lose to you here. What's that like? What's it been like?
No, like you said, it always depends on the tournaments you're in. Because again, you look at the schedule, who you play that day. So we go down to Texas A&M, you're playing us and Baylor. Who, and I always look at it first when you get the schedule, like who are we playing on the same day. Because they're going to obviously change their lineups based on who they're playing. Obviously, pitching early on, you're playing 5 games in a weekend, so they're going to have to throw some twos and threes. So it definitely, has evolved and changed, but I think it has to do more with the schedule. And we've been able to get into a lot of the big tournaments. I think they're excited to see us and compete against us. I think they know we're always going to bring our A game, and we're going to come and compete, and we're hopefully going to give them a fight, and we're going to help them. And I think that they understand that we should be winning more than we lose, so we shouldn't hurt them. We should help them in the RPI. So I think people want to play us. Not that we're going to be an automatic win, but I think that they know like they're a team that they can beat, which sounds terrible, but like a team that they can beat. But it's also going to help them because they're confident in us going through and kind of winning some of our non-conference games. We're also playing a really strong strength of schedule. So every year that's been my biggest thing, and I learned that from Coach Sortino at UMass when I first started coaching. And it's one of the first things she taught me that I did not understand. It took me a long time to get that, but I finally understood that you have to go out there. You have to put yourself out there. You have to play these teams, and I do. I have that recurring. I talk to my sisters about the recurring nightmare. They're like, "Hey, we can't get an out. What if we get on the field and we can't get an out?" And it's happened to us before. So I've been there and done that. I think we played Auburn and we couldn't get an out before it was like 18-0, probably when I was at Fordham, maybe 10 years ago. And I still remember that. But that's just something you're going to have to do, and you're going to get better from it. I always say I'd rather go down there and play a really good team, and lose than beat somebody 10-0 in preseason, because yeah, it feels good, but it doesn't help you at all. Maybe some confidence, and that may be where my coaching may change. We'll see how this year I came out again with a really tough schedule. I questioned myself last year, like maybe you should have gave them more confidence. I don't think we had a lot of confidence. And I think that's an adjustment maybe as a coach I'll have to look at again in future years. Like maybe you are playing too tough a schedule and they can't handle it, more mentally and physically right now. I still think up for the challenge, but the time will tell if they can handle that or not.
Well, and that's the beauty of the competition, and like I said, it's a good problem to have because, like I said, you got a lot of respect from the program as a result when you're in these tournaments and these matchups, and you usually play a pretty tough non-conference schedule. Like, whoa, okay, that's a pretty deal. What is something that you think is going to be a key? I think for this Big East, you mentioned you want to be a multi-bid league. Is it as simple as getting those wins in the non-conference? Is it consistency within the league? What's kind of the barometer with, again, now the evolving of the NCAA tournament going to 32 seeds now, where the top 30, they're going to seed 32 versus 16, which I'm assuming you're in favor of that?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing, I think you got to win those early games. You got to knock somebody off early, and get some of those big wins early in your season. Again, it's going to give you confidence. It's going to help your RPI. I think that's going to be the key to, everybody in our conference. So not only going to play those teams, but beat some of those teams. And I think everybody in our conference is capable of knocking those teams off. Like you've seen the Big East teams go down and play. And I think the last 2 or 3 years, a few of us have gone down and played. So either we beat a big team or we've played them really, really tight. I know UConn last year played a couple extra inning games. We had a few we were right with there trying to, knock off some top 25 teams. And I think once we start consistently being able to knock some of the top 25 teams off as a conference, it's gonna get our foot in the door. It'll help with recruiting. It helps with everything if you can prove you can compete with them.
You're now a veteran now at Villanova. I feel like you're one of the vets, coaching wise. Are you one of the people that shows like the new men's basketball coach around and things like that? Where are we now in this process?
I still feel new, but it's funny because I've been here, like you said, I'm like, wow, but I do feel still new here. And I learned from the coaches that are here. So our field hockey coach, she was coaching here when I was a player. So you thought I was here for 29 years. They've celebrated, I think, being here for 40 years. So Gina is our track coach, has been here for as long as anybody. So I still have a ton of mentors here, which like you said, I've been here a long time, but they've been here even longer than me, and it's just been really cool. So we have a women's group, all our women's head coaches, we get together a lot and we bounce ideas off each other, we learn from each other, and we help each other. Our new women's soccer coach Samara has been here doing great things with her program here at Villanova. So it's been awesome. Denise Dylan, women's basketball coach, we were both here at the same time. We both went coach for 17 years at another school and came back. So we have a lot of similarities, and we kind of help each other. Again, it's different sports, but it's just so cool to knock off ideas because we're all at Villanova, and from recruiting or, just dealing with issues on our team, all that kind of stuff. We really lean on each other a lot. So it's been great being here, and you'd be surprised. I'm actually one of the ones that's a newcomer here. So it's cool.
All right, fair, fair. And then it's all of you helping out like Coach Willard around, or is Jay Wright? I guess can still do that since he's still around.
Oh yeah, he's still the best. He's still around. Coach Willer's been great as well. He came in here and right away, introduced himself, been around, been visible. We just had our Hoops Mania, I guess they called the roommate show the other day, where Josh Hart came and
Ooh.
Jalen Brunson came. So it was pretty cool to have them back on campus. Maddie Segrist was back on campus, and with all the students, all the freshmen, obviously a lot of the freshmen who haven't been to any hoops events yet, were just itching to get there. And it was just a cool event to see all these alumni coming back and giving back, coming back, supporting all the other sports. We had a volleyball game the other night, and again, it was packed. Coach Willard was there, his team was there, so it's just kind of cool to see all the sports supporting each other. So that's awesome.
Jalen Brunson, he's doing very well for himself these days. He's become pretty big. Who gets more excited when he comes back? Your players that want to meet him, or maybe some of your kids that maybe want to see him?
Everybody, even the coaches, I want to meet them, so like, can we get that on that stage? So it's just, yeah, it's cool. And then again, anytime any of the alumni come back, I think they're just so happy, to be back home. They did a segment with, Coach Wright, and just to see kind of the interaction with Coach Wright and his former players, and just how much they love and adore each other and help each other. It's just so cool. As a coach, you see that and you just think like, hey, this is like, I love having my players come back. And again, they'll graduate and they're going to be, your friends for life and part of your family. So it's just cool to kind of model after what Coach Wright has done here. And now Coach Willard is picking it right up.
Where are we on the Coach Wright has thrown out a first pitch?
He's throwing them out. He's been throwing them out. So he'll do one this year. We'll get him out there again. We got the players out there doing it years before. So we'll get him out there for sure.
All right, I want a photo of that. You need to be in the photo. Like, that needs to happen. That's like a no-brainer. That's my request. That's my request.
Your request. We'll get. I'm going to let him know that too. That's your request.
Well, especially now he's back. He's back. He's not doing the TV as much anymore. He's back.
More time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Before we gave him a pass. He's got a lot going on. Now let's go throw that first pitch. I'm not going to ask Brunson. Brunson's got a busy schedule. So that's a big. Let's worry about Coach Wright there.
We have the Pope now too, so we got to get the Pope back here.
That's true.
To throw out the first pitch. That's on our list.
So who's
we got a lot of people we need to get back. Yeah,
I was gonna say you don't have shortage of options.
Absolutely, that's the best.
You mentioned earlier about the process of your facilities. For those that may not be aware, tell us about where you're at from a facility standpoint. I know you've had some big steps. You're hosting the Big East Tournament, but there's more phase 2 you've talked earlier about. Just where you're at, because people, I think that's always a great thing, and to see the growth of Northeast softball, we've seen it with programs like even Marist and Binghamton, for example, making the NCAAs last year. Getting good seats, both getting 3 seats, by the way. Respect for the Northeast here all of a sudden, Coach.
Absolutely. It's awesome. My hometown is Binghamton. I don't know if you knew that. So I'm from Binghamton, New York. So we go up there. I've been going there for 29 years. Every team, my Cabrini teams went up and played. And Coach Bumpus had us up there. We just went up there 2 weekends ago. Their facility is phenomenal. So their baseball facility, she gave me a tour of that. It's just amazing to see, like you said, in Northeast having softball facilities, baseball facilities, bringing in top-notch, recruits and coaches and players. And it's just cool to be up there. But I think, where we're at right now, we got, like I said, we have the field. we need donors, we need donations with the NLI and with the basketball evolving the way it is, our softball program, for us to kind of continue to build what we want to build, we're going to need more support. And I think that's kind of what our next step of my kind of career is, getting more into the fundraising side. To be completely like I'm going to have to learn how to get better at it. So I've been coaching, and now I'm like, okay, and I'm gonna dive headfirst into this fundraising, because it's what we need to do, as a program and as a university, even as a whole. As a university, they're raising funds, as an athletic department raising funds, and now as a softball program, we got to do our part and kind of raise funds, and kind of reach out to. Luckily, I'm an alumni, so I got to kind of reach out to my buddies who played with me, and ask for some help, and kind of have them kind of support our program. They've always been here watching the games and supporting us, and now we're going to need a little bit more financial contributions to kind of get where we need this program to go. As you spoke about facilities, that's not going to happen, unfortunately, unless we get these donors.
No, that's just the name of the game now. You almost have to be like a CEO as a head coach to show all that
Oh
around,
yes,
and wear a lot of different
absolutely,
hats.
absolutely. I'm learning. I'm not great at it, but I'm learning.
I think you're selling yourself short a little bit there. But that's the advantage too about your staff, because you can lean on your staff as well.
Mhm.
Talk about that. I know you just added one of your former players to be. He's going to be a GA who's a captain on your team. So I mean, that's also going to
Yes.
be exciting to have your players coming back.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, Brooklyn Ostrowski. I should have mentioned her earlier. Yeah, she's amazing. So her sister, I mentioned Maddie, she's a senior, which is so wild. Talk about how things go by so fast. So Brooklyn had committed actually to me when she was in ninth grade, when I was at Fordham University. So she's from New York area up there. And then obviously the coaching changed. I came here, she came with me, and she played here for 5 years. And now she's here in the 6th year. She's working on her second master. She's interning in our academic advising office. She's going to be a graduate manager for us. And she's also an RA on campus. So she is doing a lot of stuff. Eventually wants to go get her doctorate. But she's amazing. Again, a person on the field, off the field. But for our program, I think like she's going to bring some leadership. I actually talked about fundraising. She's young. You have to be on social media and you have to post stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that stuff. So we're going to lean on her to kind of spread the message to the younger alumni, and even people that she has played with, and just kind of bounce off ideas off her, and kind of help build the program. And as a student athlete, she just played. So I think even like we talked about the mental game and the mental aspect for our current players, so much easier for her to help them, because she's just been there. She knows what the stresses are. She's won, she's lost, she's been through it all. She started, as a player as her senior year. She didn't play much as a freshman. She's had injuries. So she's kind of one of those kids that's been through it all. So she can speak from experience. Whereas I feel like if I'm talking to players, they're kind of like, yeah, you've never done this. Whereas she can say like, yes, exactly. This is what I do. This is how I've done it. Obviously, my assistant coach, Gabby Ludi, played for me at Fordham. Grace Fagan's our pitching coach, played at Mississippi State. So she brings that SEC experience, and she can, again, talk directly to the players about, this is how I did it. This is how I was successful. And I think that that's just a big piece to have in your program. So Brooklyn's going to be a big piece for us this year.
That's awesome, and she'll be fun. There'll be a fun one for her to learn from you, and that'll be a different role.
Yeah, I
Seeing
got to try
that
to get
work.
her into. You don't want to be a doctor. You sure you don't want to be a coach. So hopefully I don't screw that up. But
Let's let the process plays itself out. Well,
yeah,
Coach, I know
I
it's a
think you
busy
will.
time. Always enjoy our annual get-togethers. Always a lot of fun, and always enjoy catching up with you. I know you're super busy, so I always generally appreciate all these years you come on anytime and talk to us about Villanova and talk about softball, just talk about the sport in general. You're one of our favorites. Thanks for always
Oh,
doing this
thank
and
you.
talking to us on In the Circle.
No, I look forward to it too. I love when you could text me and I want to get on. I'm sorry I missed yesterday, so I'm excited to be here talking with you. Like you said, we could go on for hours and hours, so we'll definitely look forward to
No,
getting
that
back.
absolutely we could, but like I said, I know we got a time crunch, so I'm staying disciplined this time. But
I appreciate it. Thank
we'll,
you.
we'll be on soon. We'll talk soon. Take it easy.
For sure. Thank you so much.